We're going to join our Chief Washington correspondent, Kevin Cirilli, who has a very special discussion for more. Kevin.
Thank you. I'm Kevin Cirilli, Chief Washington correspondent for Bloomberg TV and Radio. And in his new book, Still Standing, Republican Governor of Maryland Larry Hogan writes that members of President Trump's cabinet urged him to consider challenging President Trump in the 2020 Republican primary. He writes, quote, "The media was also enamored by the idea of a popular Republican governor, a real Republican, with a proven record of electoral success, going toe-to-toe with Donald Trump inside the GOP. But cabinet secretaries encouraging me to consider running against their boss, the president, that one surprised me." All right, Governor Hogan, that is a stunning revelation. How many and which members of the president's cabinet told you to consider running against him?
Well, there were only a couple, but I'm not going to reveal the names because they were private conversations, and I certainly wouldn't want to see a couple of friends be fired from the administration. The only reason I shared it in the book was because it is somewhat of a stunning revelation, and I don't think it comes as any surprise to folks that there are a lot of people in the administration who have sometimes spoken out. You've heard a lot of people that have been concerned about things here and there, but it was just one small thing to mention in the book. It was certainly not a main focus of anything we were talking about. I didn't have any kind of a serious effort to try to run for president, but a lot of people were encouraging me, and I was very surprised to hear how close some of these folks were actually in the White House.
Well, what was the primary motivation behind their wanting you to run? Was it that he would lose the election, competence concerns, or fear of the direction that he's taking the country in?
Well, again, I don't want to share too much about personal conversations, but I think it was a little bit about concerns about, losing the election and about, whether or not, we were going to, was the bottom going to drop out of this thing, and what was the alternative, and could we find someone that would perhaps be able to put together a winning coalition in the fall?
You didn't vote for President Trump in 2016. Are you going to endorse President Trump this time, or would you consider endorsing Joe Biden?
Well, look, that's a decision that we have from now until November to figure out. I'm chairing the National Governors Association, and I'm sort of prohibited from getting too actively involved in the partisan politics because I'm representing governors on both sides of the aisle, and we're trying to get things done in Washington. So I'm going to leave that to later to figure out.
Yeah, Governor, this is Romaine Bostic in New York. Well, let's talk about what's going on in Washington, or rather what's not going on. We have those jobless claims numbers that show the jobless claims ticking up for the first time in weeks after seeing a downtrend here. You have the expiration of those supplemental unemployment benefits expiring for a lot of people starting tomorrow, as well as some concerns here about the moratoriums on eviction and other measures designed to keep people at least whole, or at least partially whole here as we work through this recession. What do you want to see come out of the legislation that McConnell and other folks down there are working on that's going to help you, help your state, help your residents?
Well, it's very important that we get something done and we get this fourth stimulus package through Congress. It's somewhat frustrating that we've got, as I talk about this in my book, actually, I'm frustrated with the divisiveness and dysfunction. It seems like we're back to those same kinds of things again. We had a call with all the governors yesterday. We were talking about kind of the things being stalled out in the Congress. I can't really predict what's going to happen. They just came back from a 4th of July recess. They're going to be leaving again in August. We've got only a couple of short weeks to get all these things resolved, and the governors from both sides of the aisle are pushing to get some action. All the things that you just mentioned are important. We have been pushing, and we had some commitments before from the White House on help us aid to the states. We're on the front lines trying to provide support, more services to more people that desperately need it. We had a $500 billion request to the states. We've already laid off 1.6 million state and local government workers. There's talk about 4 million more being laid off if we don't get this package through. Today, the news is that that's not in the Senate Republicans' bill. I'm going to be talking with some of those leaders over the next few days and with some of my colleague governors and see if we can't try to knock some common sense into them and find some kind of common sense bipartisan solutions.
And Governor, not only is there the economic turmoil that you're trying to face, but there's also the pandemic that continues. And how much are you finding it being a help or a hindrance, the White House at the moment, in terms of fending off the uptick that we see in COVID-19, and how much you can help your residents?
Well, I don't want to just focus on the negative because they have made some improvements in some areas, but we're really concerned about the fact that it's spiking up again around the country. And we heard talk from the White House, from the president just in the past few days about cutting funding for testing, which is probably one of the most important things that we can do right now to get a handle on where this virus is and to stop the spread. We've got shortages of testing and long delays at labs across the country with people waiting up to 10 days. It's critically important, and we're going to have to continue to press the federal government. They've provided some assistance, and the CARES Act funding has helped an awful lot of people, but we've got to keep working because this virus is by no means behind us, and we need the federal government's help. The governors are out there on the front lines doing everything we can, but we need our federal partners to step up and continue to help.
Governor, wishing we had more time, but thank you so much for spending some time with us. And Kevin Cirilli, fantastic for you to bring us that interview. Governor Larry Hogan, thank you very much.